الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين وأفضل الصلاة وأتم التسليم على سيدنا مولانا وحبيبنا وشفيعنا Muhammad. This lesson is entitled The Soularium. Now that we have introduced the beginning school, let us turn to the 5 course units it entails. The course moves through 5 integrated stages, each shifting us from deconstruction to reconstruction, from reading the world to reading the self, from critiquing modern surface-level empowerment to cultivating deep discernment, and ultimately from performative etiquette to what we call divine elegance. Together, these units form a unified trajectory of literary, cultural, historical, ethical, and prophetic analysis, grounding us in a prophetic mode of reading the world and reading the soul. Unit 1 begins this journey. It is, at its core, a literary analysis of the values imparted through narrative, an inquiry into how the imagination is employed to reanimate the unseen realms of psychology, culture, ethics, and ultimately theology. What is a good author really doing when they write? They are weaving a tapestry of imagination from the threads of their own reality. And this, of course, makes for very interesting reading, because it is then the reality of the reader that unravels the tapestry woven from the reality of the writer. The movement here is from reality to imagination, and then from imagination back to reality. This is why many great authors throughout history were also theologians, philosophers, and social commentators, because they understood that imagination is not a frivolous aesthetic pastime, but a profound instrument of meaning-making. And yes, to be frank, some were simply mentally unwell, and their literature reflected their inner landscapes. The point is this: literature is never neutral. It is a solarium, a universe crafted out of the processes of meaning formation extracted from human experience. Imagination is the tool humans use to craft their solarium, and literature is one expression of that tool. Put more simply, literature is a way of processing reality. And here we encounter the paradox. Imagination is simultaneously individual and universal. Individual because it draws on the author's unique experiences. Universal because it relies on our shared apparatus of deciphering meaning, the fitra. So, does this mean that every author got it right? Or is literature merely a mirror of the author's soul, for better or worse? Does it necessarily convey ultimate truths? Or does it often contain unexamined presuppositions? Is literature, film, or any cultural expression neutral and universally applicable? Or is it a solarium that may or may not align with the divine? These are precisely the questions we take up in Unit 1 of the Beginning School. By unraveling the author's tapestry from the vantage of the ultimate transcendent divine reality, we begin to gently unravel our own solarium, recognizing the threads inside us that simply don't fit. Here we recall the Quranic verse. God says, وَلَا تَكُونُوا كَالَّتِي نَقَضَتْ غَزْلَهَا مِنْ بَعْدِ قُوَّةٍ أَنْكَاثًا. And do not be like she who unravels her yarn after it has been spun strong. This verse becomes an ethical mirror for our inner weaving, warning us not to unravel the divinely spun tapestry within the human soul, the backdrop against which every narrative must be read, written, and understood. The Quran is the divine solarium, the luminous map against which our inner constellations are measured. Through it, we learn not only to read reality, but to recognize when our own solarium has drifted from the truth. This is the meaning of the hadith Qudsi. ما وسعني لا سمائي ولا أرضي ولكن وسعني قلب عبدي المؤمن. Neither the heavens nor the earth could contain me, yet the heart of my devoted servant does. This report reveals the magnitude of the universe within, the heart as the locus of divine meanings, the seat of cosmic coherence, and the vessel capable of recognizing ontological truth. The outer cosmos cannot hold these realities, yet the illuminated heart can. And thus, the solarium becomes not a private fiction, but a place where divine meanings may descend, settle, and be known. Thus, the prophetic solarium becomes the locus of revelation, the perfectly aligned inner cosmos through which divine meaning could descend without distortion. God says, وَالنَّجْمِ إِذَا هَوَى ما ضل صاحبكم وما غوى وما ينطق عن الهوى إن هو إلا وحي يوحى. By the star, when it descends, your companion, meaning the Prophet, has neither strayed nor erred, nor does he speak from his own desire. It is nothing but revelation revealed. Sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam. Let me invite you briefly into my own solarium. Have you ever visited a planetarium? As an amateur astronomer myself, the planetarium was one of my favorite places to go. And I'm sure I'm not the only one who glued glow-in-the-dark star stickers onto my bedroom ceiling as a child. I, however, was probably the only nerd who arranged them in the accurate formation of the constellations of a particular season and hemisphere. But no harm if you didn't. You knew it was just your room and that it wasn't reflective of actual celestial reality. Imagine, however, walking into a real planetarium, one meant to represent the cosmos truthfully, only to find that the constellations were manipulated into formations that don't even exist. That would be a cosmological lie. Now imagine the same distortion occurring within your own solarium. That is not merely a falsehood about the stars. It is a lie written inside the soul itself. The solarium is the constellation of meanings within the soul. Meanings that once arranged form the very reality through which we interpret all things. Reading is beneficial for the mind, but its contents are not always nourishing for the soul. Why? Because not every author's solarium is aligned with reality. And while some authors arrange the constellations for mere entertainment, others do so for ideological agendas. Today, however, we face an even deeper crisis. The solarium is no longer the realm of imagination. Something unprecedented is happening to the human soul. It's called social media. Where the inner realm was once the universal thread of our humanity, and the outer realm was the site of our embodied diversity, a profound reversal has occurred. The outer realm is now flooded with a curated, superficial uniformity, algorithmic clones engineered for commercial and ideological aims. An imperial iblis set on colonizing the solarium. It does not care if it dulls our minds, numbs our emotions, or severs us from our spiritual core, so long as it propagates its materialistic philosophy of success. Meanwhile, the inner realm lies shattered, disoriented, and severed from its deeply embedded roots. In times past, authors retreated to the solarium, a sanctuary where imagination allowed them to make sense of their human experiences. Today, even that refuge is under siege. Social media floods the mind with curated content, leaving little room for solitude or reflection. Among the abilities that entirely elude AI is imagination. AI can only generate imitation, not authentic creativity. Studies show that generations raised on social media, despite their young age, already exhibit signs of neurological decline and even dementia-like symptoms. This is the realm of science, empirical measurement of biological degeneration. But spirituality is a different kind of science. Our realm is of the soul. We measure through different senses. If we already know that social media is causing brain rot, then it is not difficult to perceive that it is also causing the ruin of the soul. So, to recognize the disease, diagnose it, and prescribe a cure, we must examine our own solarium and measure it against the most illuminated, expansive, and intelligent soul ever created, the prophetic solarium. Sallallahu alayhi wa ala alihi wa sallam. This is our work. This is what we teach. This is the beginning school. So, if you care for your soul, as I know you do, and as every one of us must, then let us begin with 2 simple steps. First, visit nafisa.org. You will find our website and course catalog linked under this lesson. Pre-registration is now open. Create your login to access Course Unit 1 of the Beginning School as soon as it opens. Second, get yourself a cup of coffee or tea and join us in the next lesson where we discuss the prophetic solarium in greater detail. اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد نور الأنوار وسر الأسرار وترياق الأغيار ومفتاح باب اليسار سيدنا محمد المختار وآله الأطهار وأصحابه الأخيار عدد نعم الله وإفضاله والحمد لله رب العالمين.